Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the James Bond retro.
Hey.
I had to do that.
I was wondering if we're going to do like, this is the verse, the geek verse. Something
I
equally
thought, but
cheesy.
I was thinking about verse, but just saying the word verse just...
On its own doesn't work.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I got an itch right there, Travis Snail.
Ooh. I'm Adam Hartcaster, Dylan was.
I am the money, Kirklin Patzer.
Wow, there you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't
Hashtag
guessed...
safe Hannibal.
Hashtag safe Hannibal. Yeah, we're talking about that a lot. Yeah, we haven't talked about Mads in a while. I think probably...
Death Stranding.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That's not that long ago.
That's not that long ago. Check that out. 2.5 nice, solid reviews.
As long as this movie. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you haven't guessed, we announced this months ago at the beginning of 2020, but in honor of the Daniel Craig, the Daniel Craig Bond coming up, No Time to Die. His last one, we are retroing the first four that he did. So if you ever like these, because I feel like the genres we do the least are like straight up action movies and comedies. So if you like these, me and Kirklin talk about doing Bond, but obviously the whole thing is a lot. So if you ever like these, this is Bond's last or Craig's last time. So maybe when like the new Bond gets cast, we could do like another stars section. I think that's the best way to do it, is in chunks. Like, oh, we're gonna do Pierce Brosnan. Oh, we're gonna do Sean Connery, instead of like we're gonna do 28 movies. Yeah. So so we're gonna start off with Casino Royale today, and we're gonna review the other three, and you can get them early on Patreon. You guys want to take over for Taylor? Where could they find us on the interwebs?
On the interwebs, well, you can go into the search bar, punch in GeekVerse podcast. You know, I actually did this a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And holy shit, we are on way more websites. Yeah. So many websites I've never even heard of. You can find our whole feed on there. So honestly, listen wherever the fuck you want. Just put in Google, go to page 7, click on some random site. You can listen there. But the main place to be would probably be our Facebook, because there's always stuff bumping on there, whether that be polls. Or just, I don't know, all sorts of discussions.
Yeah, you know when episodes go live on social media. Taylor wants to plug this, hopefully, because this is we're recording this early. That's why you head over to Patreon. Patreon, you get ad-free episodes, and you get things
like
early.
This will be hitting live feed probably mid-March-ish? Or early March?
So that's why hopefully the website is still running, but Taylor did create a website. So as long as that's still running, there is that. So same thing, it's like a one-stop shop. There's like lots of photos that aren't us, but that's fine. I give them crap.
It's a work in progress, but it still looks really good.
It looks great.
Definitely. I mean, this is maybe out of date. We've probably talked about this a lot on the main cast at this point, but go message Taylor and say, hey, great job, because he did
it looks a million times better than the old one.
Yeah.
I just laughed when I saw one where it's like all these friends, there's like a sunset. I'm like, this isn't us.
At least you have to like scroll to get to it. It's like,
And then, just head over to, like Dylan said, you can listen to many places, but I'd say you got Spreaker, you got Spotify, you got iTunes, and leave us an app or review. At the time of this recording, that's why you go to Patreon, because you'd be live. We're at 164. We're so close to that 200 mark. So thanks to everyone that has been reviewing lately. Lots of 5 stars, lots of well-written ones. So we really appreciate that. So anything else we got to say before we get into this? I'm sure there's something happening on the feeds. There's reviews. It's March, so you probably have some stuff coming up. Is it the beginning or end of March with the certain games?
Yeah,
coming up?
there's Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I'm definitely doing something for Doom Eternal. Animal Crossing, we'll see. But expect some game content. So,
Kirklin, what are you doing in March?
I'm going to be watching his stream for Doom Eternal.
Am I doing a stream?
I don't know.
I don't think my computer can handle
do it.
Like that game and streaming at the same time, but we'll see.
What about like Briggs?
We'll get Briggs to stream it, and then
I want to see
like
that asymmetrical,
the battle mode.
Yeah, I want to see that. So.
You could stream Animal Crossing. That for sure could handle it, but I guess.
Well, I mean, because that'd be through capture card. I could do that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to be doing in March.
Look out for some streams, I guess.
Making Dylan do stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Delegating.
So now we're about to talk about Casino Royale. We don't got to worry about spoilers or anything like that. So we're just going to start. I'm going to start with Dylan, because Dylan, I think you've said you've not seen a Bond, or you've maybe seen bits and pieces over the years, but
there's like a Bond movie where someone's like painted gold, right?
Goldfinger,
I've
seen
the
60s.
I've seen that movie.
Yeah,
that's the only one I've seen.
Wow.
But I've played GoldenEye 007 on N64 a lot. I love that game, one of my favorite games. So that is my James Bond. It's like chunky, blocky Pierce Brosnan on the N64. The chops are so good. Just the hand is just a full blunt object. That's my James Bond, But I've wanted to watch these movies for a few years, like particularly the Daniel Craig ones, just because I think the casting is so great across them. Like even when I put this movie on today, I forgot Mads was in this one or in any of them, so that was a pleasant surprise. But I know we've talked about this before, but there's so many great people that show up in the other ones, so I'm excited for that.
Lots of geek first touchstones with the walk-in.
Not like big top line like A tier actors,
Yeah.
but like those people that you want to see more of. Like I just want anything with Mads, so this is like a great place to get some of that.
And we got Anna de Armas coming up.
That was the nail in the coffin for me. Was No Time to Die. Anna de Armas is in it. I got to support everything she does because she's great and I'm in love. So, so it was a perfect time for me to jump in. I guess this is his last. I forgot.
Last time was kind of. But
Has
then
he
he
said
did
that,
it.
or do they say that every time and it's like they say that to get you to the theater?
Last time was the first time where it was like he was thinking maybe his last, and now I think he's kind of. You never know, right? Because Daniel Craig or Sean Connery one time quit and he came back, so it's kind of like Downey and stuff. You never know, but I think this is going to be.
He's going to be off doing the Knives Out sequels now.
Yeah,
he's going to be that.
That's easier because he says he doesn't dislike these movies, but it's like a lot of work because they do a lot of his own stunt stuff. Where you look at
and he's got to stay tip top shape.
Yeah, you look at Benoit in Knives Out. He can just sit there and
sit in a chair.
Yeah, do great dialogue.
Southern voice.
Yeah. It's not that like it's work for him, but not the same amount of Bond. So I think this will be his last one, legit.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that's my history.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to go over your histories first?
Yeah, sure. James Bond. I feel like my introduction to it was definitely like the Pierce Brosnan era. I watched like License to Kill and oh god, there's so many titles that are just obscure. Yeah. Octopussy's in there.
Who plays Bond in the Goldfinger one, the one I've seen?
Sean Connery, the OG one. Okay.
Yeah. So Pierce Brosnan was always like my Bond because especially like my favorite James Bond game. I didn't have an N64, so I didn't have too much experience on GoldenEye unless I like went over to a friend's house and we'd be chopping each other in the multiplayer. But no, mine was definitely like Nightfire and like Pierce Brosnan is the Bond in that one, and I don't know what it was. He's got the look, he's got the charm. He was just my Bond. But once these Daniel Craig ones were coming out, I got really excited. And I remember seeing Casino Royale, and I was just so let down. I don't know what it was.
In theaters, you mean?
Yeah, I saw it in theaters, and I think I was just like, I don't know, like, so this came out in 2006, so I was in like elementary school. So maybe I was just like not.
It's a long time ago.
I didn't have my head like wrapped around. Yeah, it was a long time ago. Like, I don't know, the poker and like why they're doing these poker games and like, like why these villains who I feel like should be villains are like after the other villain. Like I feel like I just didn't fully grasp it. So I mean, it was probably my fault, but I just remember like leaving the theater expecting like a full on just from start to finish action, which is not what I got. So I think I just had my expectations set differently. It wasn't Nightfire. They weren't going to space. They weren't going to space at the end. But so yeah, and then I don't know. I think that one kind of set me off from the Daniel Craig one. So I think I skipped Quantum of Solace. I think I saw it like years later on Netflix or something. But when I saw Skyfall, oh my god, that one just saved like the whole Daniel Craig as Bond for me. I absolutely love that movie. Nice. We will get to it eventually.
Is that's the most recent one?
No, that's the second last one. Yeah. That's one with Javier Bardem.
I can't keep up.
I know, right?
I will. At the end of the stretch, I'll be an expert. But
but Skyfall, that was just something special, and I'm excited to talk about that one. But we're talking about Casino Royale right now.
I think we are, yeah.
And I never saw any like Sean Connery ones, but I don't know. I hear they're good. Yeah, it's funny because like I feel like when I was like starting to actually like know who actors were, like when I was just getting older, I just pictured Sean Connery like in Indiana Jones as like an older guy, and I like could not picture him being Bond when I heard that he was James Bond. Just like that is so strange to me.
Well, I was having that conversation with Emily. It's just weird that like with Gwen and Logan, my daughters, when they grow up, Robert Pattinson's just going to be like the Batman guy, but they're not going to know about like Twilight and stuff like that. It's going to be like when my parents would be like, oh yeah, like that guy used to be like
exactly.
Tom Hanks was just on like a TV show and he was like a kind of a nobody and now he's a mega star. It's kind of weird that there's generations where someone's going to completely know somebody else. Same thing Sean Connery. He was like a ladies man Sly. He was the first Bond, but here he's in Indiana Jones, this old guy with an umbrella like fighting birds, and it's just like it's a weird, growing up is a weird thing, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's weird to me that like 2006 is when this movie came out. Like it feels like much sooner than that. Like when I was 11 years old, this guy was James Bond. Like that does not seem accurate. It seems like this is like all these movies happened in the last decade.
This was 14 years ago. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's insane. Yeah, so that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, my history was I had a cousin. He introduced me to some comics, and he introduced me to Bond too. I remember we were just at his place, and he had a bunch on. I'm gonna cover for him. I imagine legally purchased DVDs that For some reason, the computer didn't have a DVD slot, so I don't know how we did that. But I just remember watching a bunch and liking them. And I think we watched them in a weird order, like just kind of a little bit. So I liked them. And then I got my mom to tape like a bunch. Spike TV used to play them all the time. They would do like Bond weekends and just like every single one. So yeah, I was a big fan. I think it's because like, if you know anything about me, I'm a little vain. And I think it's just like, James Bond is like the ultimate male fantasy. It's like the cars, the money, the nice suits, the girls, the guns, the gadgets, everything. So it's just like that escapism. So especially like little chubby Travis back in the day was like, look at James Bond. GoldenEye was a massive thing. I think anyone in our age group, like within our 5 years, that was the same thing. N64 being played all the time. Yeah. GoldenEye was, I won't reveal what it is later on, and we'll do a rankings thing as well, but just for these ones. But GoldenEye was my favorite Bond for a long time. And Pierce Brosnan, was definitely my Bond, but I think it's just because I grew up with it, so it's just like I think everybody kind of says that, depends. And so I was a big fan. I got this little set right here. I got every single Bond on Blu-ray. 50. So yeah, I'm a massive Bond fan. I've watched these a couple times. Oh yeah, it's every single one. So it's all the 60s and Blu-ray HD and everything. And I love Bond. Bond is kind of like Batman for me, where I don't love it as much as Batman, but just I'm always going to be there for a Bond. Even the trailer for this movie, it looks very similar to other Bonds, but it's just like, seeing Bond with a car back on a mission. It's just like that music. It just gets you going. And just the excitement of like the new theme and everything like that. It's like, it reminds me a lot of Past and Me Cast. It's like, what's his voice going to be? What's that? Like, that's the Bond thing. I always love this idea. And which we'll get in the series. I did love the idea of it's kind of like a anthology where it's just like you could pick up at any point, and if one sucks, it's not like, this really hits the series. It's like, there'll be a new director, new writers, and we'll move along. So what are you pointing at there?
Just the pose.
Who's the guy in the far left?
Roger Moore. He was probably the really cheesy Bond, and he was the one guy that played Bond the most. Roger Moore.
I feel like out of all these gentlemen, he's got the least amount of sex appeal. For
me,
maybe I'm picky.
He was a bit more like cheesy. There's the guy I think in the middle, George Lazenby. He only played Bond once, which was not a good Bond. But yeah, so I love Bond. I am a big fan. I will be watching Bond movies till the day I die, and I'm excited to talk about these retros and whatnot, and one day maybe we'll get through those all. But yeah, it's a wild franchise. It's an old franchise. Look at that, 62. Yeah, that's coming on over 60
probably
years
one of
now.
The longest running.
Totally.
Still active.
Oh yeah.
Franchise, right?
And I remember when we saw the new trailer, it's just like, oh man, they got the themes, the theme music, and just the feel of James Bond. It's so formulaic, but it works in that sense because it's just been going on for so long. And I don't know, it's just that spy movie, Handsome Gentleman.
Oh yeah, and
awesome.
Obviously Mission Impossible's around, but I don't know how long it'll be around. After Cruise is done doing it, where Bond is just he put in a new guy. And it's funny, obviously these people didn't really become massive stars elsewhere, but even when that person's Bond, they're very, I guess Sean Connery, I'll take that back, but everyone else, Daniel Craig now we'll have to see, but it's just it's an instant star vehicle. Some franchise you never know, you put on a movie and it bombs, but all these people, other than a few of them, played them for multiple movies. So it's a wild franchise, and I hope it keeps going on for a while. So what do you think about this actual movie now, Dylan? Casino Royale, 2006, 14 years ago.
2006, I was just a wee lad.
Those Sony Ericsson phones.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I think it's a fun movie. I like it. I don't think it's anything special necessarily, right? I think it's a pretty simple kind of movie. But I would say I really enjoyed it actually. There's some really good set pieces. I like the poker game aspect. Obviously anything with Mads is great. Oh, yeah. He's super weird in this movie. He's got this bleeding eye and shit.
Asthma.
Yeah, exactly. Asthma too. It's this high quality, illuminate, I don't know, full
so funny. I was joking around with that too. It's when they're making a villain, it's okay, we'll give him a scar on his eye. We'll make the eye bleed a little bit. It's how can we go one step further? Let's give him an inhaler. This guy's got breathing problems.
That is in my trivia, because most Bond villains, it's a cliche that they always have something wrong with them. It's the first Bond villain to have two things wrong with them. So there you go. So yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy it. I think my only con against it would be, honestly, I think what Kirklin said, how sometimes there's just so many different parties at play, and I found myself almost losing track of who this person is or what their origin is.
100% on this one too. I think the first watch too, because they throw there's 3 different twists, and there's all these different characters.
People that are coming back from the beginning of the film. It's I forgot about that guy.
Yeah.
It didn't really take me out of it necessarily, but I think that maybe coincides with the other thing I have against it was probably just, I think it's a bit too long. I think they could have cut 15, 20 minutes. It feels like there's a classic Act 3, and then there's another half an hour after that. Which is very slow, and it's not it's almost like another act 3. There isn't really, I don't know, there is, I guess, like kind of like another set piece.
It feels
in
like
there,
a prologue in a way, kind of like
Yeah,
where the
that's a
movie's
good-
ended and it's like, oh, what happened after their adventure? But
Right.
after their adventure, something really big, like
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
yeah.
Prologue's
Epilogue.
before,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, epilogue. Yeah.
So I guess that's how I feel about it. But in terms of like Daniel Craig, I think is really fun in this movie. I was surprised that he doesn't really have any gadgets. He doesn't really use gadgets. He's more just like fucking tanky.
Yeah,
just
that's what
jumping
I'll
around
bring
and
up
stuff.
with this one. The reason I think Casino Royale is so lauded is because this was the first movie to be really like this type of Bond where we take it seriously. All the other Bonds are really tongue in cheek.
Over the top,
yeah, the gadgets like going to space. This, I think that's why this one, whether people love it or hate, which most people love it or like it, it's because it was like this was the change of the franchise and it became more people like the Bourne movies, like something a bit more serious instead of like look at my invisible car, you know.
Yeah.
So
I guess the last thing I'll say right now is just the cast. I think is great. I mean, it seems like that's going to be the case for most of these movies, from what I've heard. But yeah, Eva Green, I haven't really seen her or anything, but I know you guys have been talking about her for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So she's really good. Jeffrey Wright, it's cool to see him once again. It's kind of just like a small minor role that he seems to have
Which
a
character
lot.
was he? Sorry.
He's
Felix.
He's the upcoming Alfred, you know.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah.
Gordon. He's Gordon.
Gordon.
Yeah,
Same
he's
difference.
the CIA guy.
He's in the next movie as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and he's
Is
gonna
he?
be,
Okay.
and he's coming back for No Time to Die as well.
Oh, shit.
He's always like a little like informant, like I got some stuff for you, some
Yeah.
information. So
He plays like these minor kind of
Right.
characters.
yeah,
So
and No Time to Die seems that it's like the end game. It's like they're bringing everybody back that's still
That's
alive
hilarious.
for these. Yeah. That's the new model now. It's the end game.
So yeah, I like it. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, so like I said before, I remember just really not liking this movie. And it's not even like I watched it once. It's like maybe I was in a bad mood. But like I rewatched it. And like, again, maybe I was still in like the same age where I was just not really
Like,
following
I really
what was going on.
like this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just because I love Bond. I think Daniel Craig, like he just fits like the look of it. He's got like the way he talks. I buy that he's Bond, but like I just didn't like the movie that he was in. And I'm such a huge fan of like the Aston Martin and all the gadgets, like playing Nightfire. Those are like my favorite missions. Like when you gotta like there's one point like turns into a sub. Like it's just so like the gadgets, right? But in this one,
None
he
of that.
gets introduced to it. It like kind of saves him with the defib unit. But other than that, they like total it like 5 minutes later. And I remember like when that happened, when I saw that in the theater, I was just so mad. I'm like, I fucking hate this movie so much. I wanted to see him like going underwater with this car. I did not get that. I wanted to see machine guns pop up. Didn't get any of that. So yeah, definitely. I don't know. This is what 14 years later now, so it's been some time, and rewatching it, I definitely like it a lot more than I did. Definitely, I agree with you. I think it's too long. Like right at the end when he's like on the boat, basically sending his resignation to M. I'm like, hey, this is like the end of the movie, and then it's like more action sequences. There's like crazy stuff that happens. It's like, man, I thought this was in the next movie. Like just like thinking back to it, I forgot like. Yeah, there's just a lot of things that I forgot because, I mean, time and maybe I just blocked it out in my mind.
I think even though it's a 2.5 hour movie, there's still like so much movie in this movie. There's so many set pieces and there's just so much going on.
A lot
Like
of
they
locations they go
stuff
to.
it full. It's like a briefcase and you're just busting at the seams.
No, absolutely. But so yeah, like going into this one, I was a lot more positive than like the second time I watched it, where I was just I know this movie's bad, so I'm gonna watch it again. It's gonna be bad, but like I don't know, I want to like it. So I did like it. I followed the story a lot better, so that made like the poker stuff more interesting. I agree. I think the running theme for this retro is gonna be the cast is just superb. Like the villain Mads in this one. We got Javier Bardem coming up. Oh, I'm so excited for that.
Ooh, nice.
But yeah, I love Daniel Craig. I think he's a little scrawny in this film. I feel like
He's a little smaller, a little bit more toned up,
I remember we were talking on our X-Men retro, kept commenting on Hugh Jackman's physique. I feel like that'll be a running theme on this one. I'm very particular on my
Baywatch.
Yeah, my action stars.
The thing is, though,
it's like, oh, look how scrawny he is.
But here's the thing again, where again,
I thought he was looking pretty chiseled.
I thought his
I
neck
think
was a
he
little
is.
like small.
Oh, I think he's also younger, but you got to take it this way though. If you look at Pierce Bronson, this was the most this is the biggest Bond yet. So
that is fair.
You're thinking retroactively now. Before
I'm thinking my 2020 Bond. I want like Chris Hemsworth.
If you look at all those people on the front cover,
The Rock.
they're all like slender guys.
Yeah, that is true.
So
that is fair.
For now, when you look at Craig, he's like, oh, he's really beefy. But back then, it's like this is a huge Bond, like he's a tank because now male stars like work out.
The
and
2020
like
Bond.
Yeah.
They're on different diets.
Yeah,
supplementing.
Yeah.
But overall, I liked it. I thought it was a little bit long at the end.
You're gonna get an ad break, and then you're gonna be right back to the episode.
there was just some like, maybe because it's a 2006 movie, just like things that would happen that, I mean, it's like a super spy movie, so kind of like give it a wave. But there were just some things that I was just shaking my head. I'm like, there's no fucking way that would happen like that way. The biggest one, and like, what probably just the craziest part about this whole movie is the torture scene. And like, I don't understand. I feel like he is just not be a person anymore after that scene. Like, let alone like do like action sequences. I feel like you would just be in a bed for like 10 years if you just like dustified your nuts that way.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to look into it.
That would be pretty savage.
So yeah, I don't like everything from that point on to the movie. I'm like, I feel like he should just be in a wheelchair at this point. But
well, he was in a wheelchair after that scene.
Yeah.
And we don't know how long it was.
I think they insinuate it's been a few, like maybe even a month or so. Those two were together and things like that. So
fair
like,
enough. I still think it should have been like a year. That was some trauma, man. That was terrible to watch.
You gotta think though, maybe not every hit is a direct hit though. You might hit a thigh or something.
Might get one to the taint. You know?
I've been hitting the nuts very lightly before, and it hurts.
Yeah,
a lot.
lightly. Yeah.
So
and this was Mads Mikkelsen.
That was Mads Mikkelsen whipping. That was a
big.
big knot on that rope.
I'll get you your money.
And that was a dirty.
Oh
rope
yeah.
too.
That rope's been used on many nut sacks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they don't clean it.
No,
they don't
no.
sanitize it in between
on
uses.
purpose. Leave that rope.
Yeah.
But he's not using gloves either. So what does that say about Lashif? You know, he's a dirty bastard.
Absolutely. So
that torture room is just so over the top too. There's
I know.
Chains
as soon as they
hanging
bring it in, I'm
around.
like, this is just the perfect setting for a torture. It's just like dripping wet. It's probably just very moist in there.
Very moist.
Yeah, that was. I mean, we'll get into it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I hear your spiel on Bond.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar to you. That the first time I saw it, I didn't see it in theaters. I watched it later on, and I always said this before, like 2006 was like a year changing for Travis Snell, but I guess it was a movie for this one because this is when Departed came out, and that's when I always say Departed came out, and I liked my first like talkie, like a movie where it's just like drama and conversations, and then Transformers came out the next year, and I was like, I don't like this, so I was like, oh, there's a change in me, but this, I feel it's very similar to the way I view Batman Begins, which we're going to talk about in Nolan Retro. We're going to do a commentary track, so it's kind of funny, but it's like, it's the same thing where it's a movie that comes out, it's completely like new to the franchise. They take it in a different route. And I remember Batman Begins was the same thing when I watched it as like a younger kid, thinking about like, oh, the same thing, gadgets, Mr. Freeze, all this like really comic booky stuff. It's like, oh, this is really down to earth, and this is like quite different. I think this is the same thing where this is kind of like Batman Begins. They're trying to make the most realistic Bond as possible. And the first time I saw it, I liked it, but I just wasn't super into it. I was like, I don't know if I enjoy this route, and I just don't think I was ready for it. And I don't think I was ready. There's lots of scenes where it is just lots of talking and lots of dialogue. So when I saw it the first time, I was not ready for it. And then, the two things I always say that the second time, like watching it more and more, I always appreciate it because I feel there are a few twists, and there's a lot of twists, especially like when we get into Vespa, there's lots of stuff that when you watch the second time, you see, oh, she was doing this here and this there. But at the end, they just show you a bunch of exposition, like, oh, she was this and she's doing this the whole time. So that's always helped. But then, and another movie I compare it to is Winter Soldier, where I just like every time I've rewatched it, I can't actually say I love Casino Royale now, but before I was like, oh, I like it, but not as much as everyone else. But after every watch, I like it more and more and more. I like Craig a lot. And that's the thing too. Same thing as him as Bond. I wasn't ready for this really serious, like, tanky, like just cold-blooded Bond. I missed the charisma, and he does have that in here, but I think it's just the kind of the macho, scary Bond, like that bathroom scene at the beginning. I think it's a pretty scary scene for just like an action movie.
He's
like
full on psychopath.
Oh
right?
yeah, and like there's one moment where a guy like blows up when he's like handcuffed and he like gives a little smile. It's like Bond would give a smile, but it'd be like I got him. This is like a.
And then he matches it with these just calm blue eyes, and you're
exactly.
like, oh, he's so nice.
Yeah.
So it's not like a fun Bond. It's like, oh, this guy has trauma. This guy's, so everything kind of warmed up. I didn't know who Mads was at that point. Like, this was my first Mads before Hannibal, but I didn't know that. Just like, oh, this is some Bond villain, And, and even,
little did you know.
Yeah, and even his story, when we get into it, it's not just straight up like he's the villain. It's like he's taking money from a bunch of people, and he owes these people money, and he has to win this game, because if he doesn't win the game, he's going to leave the country. So it's not just like they're going to blow up this country. That's it. Like, so it's all like, it's really intricate, like storylines. I love Vespa's my favorite Bond girl. I love the relationship they have, and I think it's a good origin story because because I don't know if they pitched it that way, but that's the way it comes across now. Is like if you think about James Bond, when we get into, he's known for like the gadgets and the girls. This is like supposed to be pre-Bond, and I do think they do a good job of setting up like why is he a womanizer? Oh, he tried to find love, and the woman he loves like was like a traitor, right, and was lying to him. So it's like every little thing about the Bond where we get to, I think they set up perfectly, and I think it is. I don't know where it is, but I think it's in my top 5. It might be top 3 to be honest. But yeah, when I watched it originally, I was like, oh, I like it, but that's enough. But yeah, it's every time I rewatch it, I like it more and more.
Cool.
And I just think him and Eva Green have great chemistry, and I'm always mad. She's the perfect Catwoman we never had. I always said that, but
maybe someday. It's never too late.
I don't know. We're getting
Granny Catwoman.
She's getting a little too old, unfortunately, the way Hollywood is, So
she's like 40 now.
Yeah, but then you got this trilogy that's gonna go on for 10 years, so she's gonna be 50.
Yeah, but maybe this Catwoman dies, and like there's another Catwoman in this trilogy.
Catwoman's mom
Big
comes out of
Catwoman.
retirement.
Mommy.
Cat mom.
Yeah. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Yeah, no, I love this movie now, but and I agree with all their cons that I think there's some stuff. I think it's weird because I like everything at the end, but the pacing is kind of weird, just the way they do. And I think and I don't think it's a perfect movie. I think even the stuff with Bond and Vespa near the end, it moves very, very fast. I think there's some pieces missing, which we'll get into. And then I think there's some action sequences that nothing could cut out, just shorten down. Especially there's one.
I could have done without the airport.
The airport is that whole thing. You don't need any of that. I know they. Of course, it's because it gets them some new information again in the poker game. But you could do that much quicker. I don't think there's anything. Even the scene where he watches that guy die and it's really cold. Like you could truncate that, put that 5 minutes. Every time I watch that movie, that's the time where I pretty much check out.
It almost feels like they're filling up the budget or something.
100%.
Let's just go to an airport and
that's a good
some shit up.
So I don't think it's perfect. I think there's a few times where that could have been cut out and whatnot. So.
That's fair.
Yeah. Where do we want to start?
Well, I want to ask. So Eva Green, one or both of you have cast her in the comic fan cast at some point, right? Or you just talked about her?
No, I had her in the superhero draft the very first time we did it because that's when Ben Affleck was Batman, and I thought, maybe there's a chance. Catwoman, but it never happened. So that's over with. But so I did that before, and I've wanted to put her as Catwoman, but I think when we did the Batman fan cast, it was the same thing. Like, I think she's getting a little older. Right. Hollywood loves 25 and go.
Okay.
So
yeah, I was curious about that, but I think she's great. I mean, she's she's in this movie a lot, and I think it's interesting the way her character develops because she does seem to there is always these questions, right? And at one point he has a line, something like, everyone has their tells except for you or something, right?
Yeah.
And she goes along with it, and it sounds all nice, but obviously, it's because she is, I guess, that good at deceiving people, even James Bond.
Yeah,
can figure anyone out.
I really like when they're on the train and they're just kind of reading each other out. That was fun. Just
you're an orphan. Oh well, why are you saying that?
Exactly.
You must be an orphan as well. Much better dialogue than what I'm saying. But the way they're kind of reading each other, and I obviously, and that's another Bond thing. The Bond girl, for the most part, she might be a little tough, but it's always James beds her right away, and James is always in control of the females in the Bond franchise. So this was the first one to be fighting him. No, he can't. She saves his life multiple times, legitimately. So
she does.
Without her, he'd be dead because he's so egotistical.
And I like during the poker game how it seems like they both have their own strategy or take on it, and then they're commenting on what their characters should be doing, and then
in character.
Then they're also having these genuine moments. That was I really like the whole poker. It's my favorite part of the movie, I would say. Yeah. But I think she's great, and because she's the only actress or actor or anyone in this movie that I haven't really seen in something else. At least Jeffrey Wright, I haven't really seen a big performance necessarily, but I've seen him in a few small things, and obviously a big fan of Mads and stuff. And Daniel Craig, I mean, funnily enough, I had seen Knives Out was the first Daniel Craig movie I had ever seen.
That's crazy.
So this is I already have a little bit of perspective on him, I guess. But I thought she was great, and I understand why you guys have been peeping her up in the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, and it's a complete male thing, but I always say there's two performances in the world where I say you look at Ryan Gosling and Crazy Stupid Love or Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street, and I always say if you're just what's the most best looking person on screen ever, Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street is just that's definition. Same Ryan Gosling. She is that too, where just no matter what she's doing, no matter what scene, she's just super beautiful in this movie, and I think it's a makeup artist and costume, but I think that's a good idea because it's her hair and everything, but they want to make her Bond as kind of, even though he plays it off that he's not desirable at the beginning, she just comes off that way the whole movie, so desirable, and she's just gorgeous
the
in this
outfits
movie.
and stuff,
Yeah.
and like that necklace that has
Oh,
like that
yeah.
string that goes right between her
Yeah,
boobs,
this
like-
is like one of those definitions of like, oh, most gorgeous females on screen, like Eva Green in
She's good
Casino
too.
Royale. It's just like boom right there.
Those
And yeah,
smoky eyes get me.
yeah, and Vespa, yeah, she's my favorite because she's layered, and not just because there's like the twist, just overall she's layered. Like she wants to come in there like a snake in the poker game in there, where Bond is just a bull in the china shop. Like,
right, yeah.
the best way that shows it off is right when they get the hotel. He has like that code name when he's like, "Oh, do you have it checked in for Underhill?" And they're like, "Oh yeah," and they're like, "Oh, he's changed it to Bond because that's my name." And she's like, "Why would you just give away your cover right now?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "Well, if he knows," and he gives this whole explanation, but it's just you can see they have the same goal, but very different mindsets going
yeah.
into it.
And then even when he has to kill those two dudes, and
Mhm.
whether or not she's acting, who knows? But like it messes her up pretty bad.
Oh
right?
yeah,
So,
I don't think she was. I think she
it seemed pretty genuine.
yeah,
authentic.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just got great chemistry together. Even something like that shower scene, like it's super kind of weird. He's like sucking her fingers and stuff like that, but it's like really sensual at the same time. Like there's that fine line, but they nail.
Well,
that
even
down.
like even in spoilers, she dies, but like in that moment, she just like puts her hands like through the grate, like one last
Yeah.
time, just kind
Mhm.
of feeling his hands quickly. It's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I was
genuine.
just
somewhat.
like when like their plan for when he comes in, or sorry, Daniel Craig is telling Eva Green to come in and like basically like give him a kiss and then like come in behind me, right? So everyone is just drawn to him. But it was just so funny. Like the one person that got distracted the most was like Daniel Craig in that scene. I
Yeah.
love the way that scene played out and how they were just like she was like a piece of his strategy in that
Yeah.
situation. It was just a fun scene and I don't know. I loved it. And then when he was ordering all of his drinks, and then everyone's like, "I think I'll have that too." I
He just commands the room.
I watched it with a buddy of mine. I'm like, "Fuck, I should have wrote that down. It sounded pretty good."
And I love that in that moment we'll talk about it. Just Lashif, he's just like annoyed by everyone that is
Yeah.
like he's
Can we
like,
play?
Yeah. And then they're like, I'll still take that one as well. So the only problem I have with Vespa and Bond is not the acting or anything like that. It's the very end because they play it like they kind of answer some of these questions in quantum swallows, but the end of it when they're like, okay, she has like a boyfriend, but she fell in love with you. I feel like without a sequel, that's kind of very muddled. And I guess you're supposed to leave like, oh, did she really love him? And M says that like, oh, like she saved you, so she must have loved you. I find it that he did save her life, but I find like them falling in mad deep love is a very quick turnaround because they go from like being very kind of just like kind of flirty but against each other, right? They have a quick little barbs, and then there's like a relationship forming, like you're talking about, like he's noticing her walk in the room, but then the end for him to be like, I'm gonna retire, and then like give up everything for each other. I never ever buy that. Whenever I get to the end of this movie, I'm always like, right, it feels like that's why I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt and say that I hope that there was maybe 2 months they were together or 3 or something, because they're supposed to be like so in love at that point.
Yeah.
They're flowing around, they're doing the classic cliche of like rolling off beds with each other, like they're ready to leave.
It's
So
full Love Is Blind. It takes 3 days and you're married. To this
we're
person.
like, if we don't give them the credit of like if it's been months, it's like it's been 2 days. They know it. They met each other on a train, and then the poker game, and then there's the like they get tortured, they get split apart, and then they're madly in love.
They're boning when his disintegrated nuts.
I'm fine with
so
them.
pissed
Well,
with
yeah,
that.
that's a little stuff. I'm fine with them boning, but it is just like him ready to resign. It's everything.
Yeah.
They're ready to do a 180. It's just like just date a little bit for a while. So that's
Yeah.
my only thing. And same thing with the pacing. I think it moves very quickly to get to that end point. Like
And like
That's fair,
I think
yeah.
if they just added like 6 months later or something like
Yeah,
that, like
yeah.
just on the bottom of the screen, like it would have helped it so much more, or
Yeah.
like made it more believable.
Mhm.
I probably would have. I still think 6 months isn't long enough for your nuts to heal after that, but
at least they get fall in
I'll
love.
hand wave it.
The nuts thing is like, well, yeah.
They were like in like the medical room, like knocking the equipment over,
Yeah.
getting all over each other. I'm like, man, those nuts, they're
Dude, he
not
probably
ready.
trained his nuts to like sustain damage.
That's
or
what I was
something.
thinking. I'm like, they're probably like 6-pack nuts or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
he can
yeah.
like I don't know, or suck them in.
What if he doesn't? What if it's
into his
an
body?
What if it's an MI6 thing where he got them replaced?
They
Where they're
yeah.
there, but they're just like marbles, so they don't have kids, so they're
Yeah.
not actually there, So
Yeah.
should have explained
Like
it.
those like metal ice cubes.
yeah, whole exposition about
It's possible. It could
James
happen.
has metal balls and all
In that
this,
scene, yeah, it goes like a flashback.
Yeah,
Of this
he hates
20-minute
airports.
sequence.
Yeah.
Every time he goes through, it rings, and it's like, oh, this is awkward. But yeah, that's my only complaint, just the pacing at the
Right.
end a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's because, like that whole sequence is like really well done. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that. Whether it's like the other people at the table who you know, they don't really have much personality, but I still feel like there's enough character there. It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, there's these other guys at the table, and then obviously Jeffrey Wright kind of adds another twist in there because you find out, like, I guess after the first session they acknowledge each other and then they go back in, and
Yeah, 'cause
you kind of know they're on the
CIA,
same
yeah.
side, so that's kind of an interesting dynamic. The fucking dealer is a full-on pro. Like, the way he's chucking cards across the table. Oh, it was so great. And then Mads, like, just flipping his chips around.
He's sick with that.
I love those, because all those scenes, it's just Daniel Craig and Mads Mikkelsen just staring at each other, but there's, like, so much tension.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, really well shot, really well edited. I'd say for this movie in general, like, there's a lot of interesting camera angles and, like, really snappy editing, I would say, in general.
I think it's really well made.
Yeah, but especially for, like, obviously you contrast that poker scene to, like, the opening, like, construction, you know.
Yeah, the parkour,
construction
chasing,
parkour, and, like, they're like just as snappy as each other in totally different ways, and I thought that was pretty cool. And that's why I thought it was interesting if they were like, because I guess after that you do have like this kind of car thing where he's flipping out, and then they have like the torture scene. But I feel like that poker scene was like a really good like final, I don't know, I guess final set piece, almost. So
yeah.
I don't know. That's why I kind of maybe wanted it to end a bit sooner. I just felt like that was a good place to.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, you're not going to get higher than that at this point.
Yeah, I think that's maybe some of the goal they were trying is like subvert expectations, because you could end there, and then I also think killing Mads there, you kind of think that it's done, right? Where I feel like even though you know it's a movie, there could be more coming. I think constantly they're trying to make it feel like, oh, you know, the big showdown's in between, because Mads just goes out really easily. He just gets shot and he's gone. It's over. Bond doesn't even kill him.
Yeah, I agree. It would be a little like you'd have to shuffle stuff around, right?
Yeah.
For that to work, but.
Yeah. But no, I agree with you. The only knock, and it's not even a huge knock, the only hot knock I have against the poker scene is Matheson. So clearly I get it, because you have to have him there for the viewer if you don't know the rules of poker. But just my favorite is like he talks to Vespa like she's an idiot and she's never watched poker in her life. Like 10 million in the pot. Yeah. 20 million
he's like
in the pot.
Yeah.
50 million in the pot. And then he's just like, if Bond folds here, or like if Bond wants to play, he has to go all in. And it's just like, it's like Vespa's an alien and she has no concept of what poker is. And it's smart because you have to, right? Because there might be somebody watching that's never seen poker, so like you do have to. Well, yeah, so I get it.
It doesn't even matter. Like when they're like flipping cards and Mads has like these ones, I'm like, I don't know what that is.
He is the best card reveal I've ever seen. He's like,
oh yeah, he puts it down and then says the slide.
Reveals the second one. He's like, ooh.
Even the way he like puts his chips, his chips, it's like a magician, right? He's just like waves his hand across and like drops them slowly. And then Bond. I think it's kind of funny you're saying he is like a bull in a china shop. And then like he just all in, so he just pushes everything over.
I hate that every time he does that at the end when he goes all in, he pushes them all and they're all crumbling. It's like, oh, I hate seeing that. It's just like
other people like put them in formations. His diamond.
That's a good point though. That did kind of bother, because even when he's like commenting on strategy to her, and they're like right behind Mads. So, like,
they're close.
He can hear what he's saying.
Mads' character, he's like doing his tell or whatever Bond says. He's like, Bond's onto him. He knows it. Or like he knows the tell. Yeah, he knows the tell.
Yeah.
He's actually going to do it.
Up.
And he's like,
write some notes.
Mads. Yeah, exactly.
Pass her a note or something. But that's where I wonder. I don't think it is, but that feels like a studio note of like some of the studio watchers. Like, I'm really confused by that poker scene. Can you reshoot in half or add some dialogue where he's dropping in a few little nuggets? So I do get it, but it's just like it is just kind of. It always just catches me off guard when he's just like.
I feel like the dealer did it all. Like I feel like he set up what needed, or like he explained stuff enough.
Totally.
For me.
Yeah.
Shouts to that dealer. You know, he doesn't get enough credit. He probably wasn't on the red carpet for this movie. That dealer was great.
Bond tipped him like $150K after he won.
Yeah,
gave him the one. Yeah,
half a mil or something.
That's crazy.
Not bad at all.
And the thing that I like about like you got so many events in that poker game, because the poker I think it's a good set piece and it's lonesome, but then you get Bond getting poisoned, which is great because I love you get that bathroom effect early on when it's the black and white shot, but even when he's poisoned, it's like all blurry and it's kind of wishy-washy, the camera, but I love that sequence he's trying to get out, and automatically he just grabs a drink, he grabs salt. Like I just love that he does feel every time this movie, he feels like he is a pro. Like anything that happens, he knows an answer to it, even though he messed up the defibrillator, but still. So I like that set piece, and I love the one with Mads and the people after him for money, funny because they don't make Mads sympathetic, but that's where I like it's a different twist. He's not a villain that's in control. He's also like on the wire. He's just doing it because he lost a lot of money and he needs to get it back. So that's why like they could have made him sympathetic, but then he's just a terrible person still. But I like that they're like threatening his lady and everything like that. So I like in all those they're always adding like different layers and different, because you could take out that Mads thing. It's not really needed, but I think it's needed because it adds layers to his character. It's like this little rat who's just he's at the end of his rope and he's trying so hard to get out of it. And so when you know when he loses, it's like, oh, he's really screwed now. You know?
You're going to get an ad break, and then you're going to be right back to the episode.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, looking at Mads in this movie, because, I mean, not from my perspective, from the general perspective, like, this is his first, like, kind of breakout into American film, right? Or, like, this is where people knew that name, Mads Mikkelsen, after, I would imagine, right? It's what possibly got him, like, into Hannibal, into the shoes of, like, Marvel and Star Wars and stuff like that. And it's, like, it's just such a credit to, like, yes, he is... To me, he felt like very one-dimensional villain. Like, yes, there is like some things to make him a little more complex, but like that doesn't even matter because of how good Mads is, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously it is the look, but even just Mads himself, right? Like, it's the way he purses his lips, and his slick hair. Like he just he can control a room so well. Yeah, the soft voice too. Yeah, good point.
Totally. Like he got the soft voice, but like scary intent behind his words, but he did like it's not like it's difference between someone that's a bad guy and he's yelling, where it's like a bad guy but he's very soft spoken, but like kind of creeps you out.
Even the torture scene where he does like yell a few times, he's just like he gives a good presence because he's not trying to be the full on just like I'm gonna do this to you. Like he's kind of talking Bond through it, and I agree that he carries that, because I think there's other actors that do a good job. I think there's other like many actors you could put in there, and it's just kind of a forgettable role. He's just the Bond villain this go around, and that happens. You'll see the next movie. The next villain is no one of note, and he's very forgettable. And I think, and that same thing though, that got big after a while. Like Javier Bardem, Christoph Waltz, and Rami Malek. The first two, Mads was nobody. Like you were saying, Mads was nobody, so he was just a guy. So that's why it shows like the break or make of a role casting. And I think, he's great in this. He's very memorable, and everything he does, he's just. I love Mads, and I hope Kevin Feige makes him Doctor Doom. I really do somehow. You know,
and it's so important to have. Like, because he doesn't really have, like, I don't know, even the dialogue he does have in this movie, like, some of it is quite generic. Like, even when he's in the torture room, he's like, give me the money, you know, just dropping that classic line.
I'll give you her life if you give me the money.
It is so important to have someone who can, you know, pull the Tom Hardy thing and do so much with their eyes.
Yeah, and it's just that accent, too, man. That is, it's like, no one else has, even his brother doesn't have that exact accent.
I just want to go watch Hannibal, you know?
Oh, yeah. I hope that when he retires, he starts doing audiobooks, because I would listen to any audiobook he would.
He should write his autobiography and narrate it.
Or they should probably, because the show's canceled, they won't. But they should have got him to redo all the Hannibal Lecter books. That would have been great.
Oh,
that's money right there, Sid. We're gonna make that happen.
That'd be spicy.
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly touch upon the. I feel like I didn't give my notes on the poker like set piece.
Give your notes.
I agree with you. I absolutely loved it. It was an awesome, just like, what's the best word for it? Almost like a home base, whereas like. The big event would be going on here, and then like behind the scenes, like the two gentlemen with the giant machete that was gonna chop off Mads' girlfriend. Like
that guy did not have good technique. He went for like a really bold stab too. I was like, dude, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's a wild weapon too to just be carrying around. But like, so they'd be
that is your choice of weapon is a machete.
Yeah, it's not a knife. Like you can't really just put that in your pocket.
Trying to sneak that into the
like
poker.
When he sees Bond like or his buddy sees Bond's earpiece and it's just like shing. Just pulls out like quickly. So like they go behind the scenes, goes to their room and does all this like the other stuff, but then it all comes back to that poker room, and it's just it was aesthetically pleasing, like all the different like well-dressed people in there, the bartender in the back. Like it was just such an awesome like returning place that you just like the main stage is here, but like the real stuff is going on behind the
it's
scenes.
like good world building stuff, right? Like
totally.
they're not just in some random room, like they're in a hotel that has 4 floors and there's this people in this room, that and that.
Exactly. So I love the way they used that room, and it was just awesome. It was like on a platform too. Like this is the main stage.
And like all these homies in the background, you're getting hyped and there's a big money on the table.
I love the gentleman like with the briefcase. He was like from Switzerland or something, like the main like banker dude. That
You should be in your account, Mr. Bond.
Yeah, he was kind of
Bond.
Fun.
You're up first.
He kind of was like a fun. He was kind of a funny like humor too. When Bond asked him if he brought like chocolates, and he was like, "Oh, not this time." He's just, I don't know. I thought he was a funny character. And then just some negatives kind of at the end of the film when it just seemed like a lot of stuff was happening all at once, and there was a bunch of characters that like the one gentleman, I think it was Mr. White, right?
At the very end.
Yeah,
the guy
but
with the
he was
briefcase.
also at the beginning of the film.
He's sprinkled throughout. He's at the beginning. He's the one that kills Mads.
Right, yeah,
remember?
yeah.
He's like a little like Easter egg they plant
yeah,
everywhere.
so you got that character who you don't really know who he is till the very, very end,
Yeah.
and then
even then you don't really he's bad, but you don't know like his motivations or like
Yeah.
that's like luckily they know it's James Bond, so they knew they were gonna get a sequel, but they like leave a lot of things open. I think that was the other problem I too had with the first time, where that's where they're always anthologies. So the first, like every Bond before that, everything would be answered because they would always be like, we're not returning to these characters, we're moving on. This was really like left so much stuff open, like because to me the Vespa thing was huge, Mr. White's huge, Matheson even then, because M's like, oh, so her being bad clears Matheson. And he's like, oh, not so fast. So it's like, so was Matheson bad? And in the next movie they get into that, but it's just like there's all the, which can be good, but I prefer that like the Inception one big thing's a question instead of like there's 5 plot lines that could be up to you, but it's like it could be, but like at the same point it's like I want some closure.
Yeah, like I feel like it's important, or I think it was to this movie's benefit to leave Eva Green's character up for interpretation of the ambiguity of like, did she love him, did she not, who's this other guy. I think that works, but the other stuff they should have
like
cleared
the gentleman with like the eye patch on his glasses, like it's just like another like Bond villain looking dude.
That guy just pops in the last 10 minutes of the movie.
So like all those, I don't know, I just felt like it was just kind of like a clusterfuck.
Well, I wonder too because like we'll talk about because Quantum's like that, and then Spectre's like that, and Skyfall's the only in this one in the series that's like a kind of a one-off. And I wonder when they did this movie, because there's a terrible Bond called 2000, or it's not called, in 2002. Bronson's last one, it's Die Another Day, and it's awful. It's terrible. It has to do with there's like people with diamonds in their face.
Only 4 years between that and
yeah.
That seems fucking wild.
Rosamund Pike's in that one. There's people with diamonds in their face.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
To me, that seems like a generational gap of like 30 years between those.
Oh, 100%. And especially in Die Another Day, he surfboards like a water typhoon or something like that, like with a with a parachute. But like, so the thing is, I wonder when they did this if they went in with a conscious effort that they were going to make it more franchise serialized. They're like, oh, we're for sure going to do a sequel, because that's what it feels like, because there is so much, and like literally the next movie it picks up right where we left, like right at that same spot. So I wonder if that was a conscious effort of like, oh, people aren't into the one-offs anymore, and they've only done one-off, and even Skyfall they eventually like retcon it, be like, oh, well, it was a part of the story the whole time. So I've always wondered the next Bond if they're going to keep doing that, or if it's going to go back to the one-offs.
Well, I wonder if that's something down to just like the history of the series, right? Like you can't, like you could obviously Halloween's been doing this, but you could just like, you can't really call this Casino Royale like Bond 1 or like the first one, right? Because then it's just so confusing because you have so many other movies in the series, and maybe that's the thing, right? Like you have all these titles and like they're just kind of cool. Skyfall, Spectre,
No Time to Die.
Yeah, exactly. Like just fun titles, but it like when I've talked to some other friends of mine that were going to do this retro and whatnot, and whenever I'm talking to anyone, they're like, they don't know the order. They're like, there's like Spectre, and then there's like Casino Royale. Like they don't know which ones are which. They don't know the order. So maybe I wonder if that was it, right? Like just if you do these one-offs, yes, it's the same character, but like there's less reliance on the viewer to like know what's going on exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if if you're saying like the next one is like this as well, then it's also a sequel, so there's like already all this other like already kind of messy stuff from this movie.
The next one
that
looks
could get like really confusing.
No Time to Die looks like it's the same thing as Quantum. It picks up very close to where Spectre left off. That's where like it has Christoph Waltz is coming back, his love interest is coming back, like all this stuff is happening. So
Endgame.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm interested to see if they stick that or not. I like both methods. I don't mind if they do like two first, but I also do just like, oh, this is Bond's one off, and we go.
I like the one offs because then it's not like you have to. Oh, well, I gotta watch the first two just to watch this. It's almost got like the Legend of Zelda effect, where like you don't need to play the other games. You can just jump in there.
There's a book that tells you these are sequels, but like you don't know that if you're playing
exactly.
And especially up until this, because people kind of consider this the reboot. They never classified it as this, but the old ones, you could always make the case of, oh, is this Bond the same guy throughout and it's a different actor playing him? Or, which I always liked, is that it was a code name and someone would be, let's say Dylan Must becomes, he gets that rank. You now change your name to James Bond and 007 after that person retires. But once they rebooted this, because they start using old villains, everything like that, like create a new timeline. So I don't know what they're going to do in the next generation of people and whatnot, which we'll find out in a few
good
years.
question.
You know,
Interesting.
we'll be here, you know, talking about it.
We will be.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the kind of opening set piece,
Black
which
and
is the
white?
construction? No, like
Before-
the construction.
or after that.
The
Okay.
construction site. Because is that really a set piece? Would you say?
No, I don't think it's that's semantics, but I don't think it's a set piece, the bathroom one. But yeah, I love that. I love everything about, because that same thing was Bond is like does a lot of action in these movies, but I think this was just to show off Daniel Craig and that stunt team and to be like, this is a Bond that doesn't rely on
There's
gadgets.
a couple of clips you can see the stunt double's face.
Yeah,
Like, hey,
yeah,
who are you?
because he has really spiky hair to the stunt double. It's
Yeah,
like, okay,
it does.
that's a good thing. Now, like talking about like 14 years later, it's so funny. Like when you see the Robert Pattinson Batman photos, he has all dots on the stuntman, so they can CGI his face to be Robert Pattinson. They did,
That's cool. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but I'm sure it happens.
They did the same thing in
You have the
Logan,
budget.
the X-23. Every action scene, it was like a stunt double, and they just
Right.
CGI'd her
That's cool.
face on there.
I didn't
So,
know about that.
but
Yeah.
at this point, we were still there where you had a stunt guy. So I love it because I think it showed that this Bond's more physical. I think it goes on the right amount. I like the scale of it, where it just starts off that little snake fight. It starts very small, and then it keeps building when they're on like the towers and whatnot. That's great. And then just even the ending with the explosions and the face off. I think that is as far as the action scenes in this movie, that's definitely the height. And
Right.
we might rank scenes in a ranking special. I don't think it's been matched as far as an action scene in the series, which is kind of an unfortunate thing. But I don't think there's any scene coming up the next movies that matches this just chase going
Right.
on. So
And like that opening like action sequence is so like full throttle, super intense. And then just like I feel like the first time I watched this movie back in the day, I was like, oh man, this movie's gonna be like this all the way through it. And then they're playing poker, and I was probably just like, it started so high and then it just went down. for
I
me
bet
back in the day.
why they did that though, because they knew we're not going to get a lot of action for a
Yeah,
while, and I
that's
almost wonder if
probably
that's
true.
why that airport scene's in there too. Of like, let's give the people some action because
Oh,
they all love
100%.
Bond
Yeah.
before
That's
we
probably
sit them
true.
That's why
down for
people
an
are
hour.
here.
Yeah, sit them down for an hour to
Yeah.
be like playing mind tricks and the guy touching his eye all the time. So
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I know. I understand why they did it. for sure.
Yeah, but yeah.
I loved his buddy that just totally butchered the plan.
Oh, that guy
like,
fucked up
how
so
was that
bad.
guy? How was that guy an agent? Come on.
Yeah.
Like
He wouldn't be after that.
He was double.
You learned that
0.
tutorial. Don't touch your ear.
He'd be demoted after that. So
Yeah, I like these. What I like about it is obviously we just talked about how this Bond doesn't really he's not using a ton of gadgets, but he kind of made up for it by like he essentially used one of those set things like a grappling hook, you know. And I mean, I don't know how he has this much knowledge about like construction stuff, and like he hit this one thing, and then it like broke the hydraulics on that forklift thing, and he like came down. He knows, I don't know, he knows his construction tools really, really well. He knows what this button does, what to cut to make him fly.
it's a
out.
whole month of the MI6 training is. All right, go to a construction
Yeah,
yard. You're like,
exactly.
who are you? Oh, I'm James Bond. I'm here to learn all of this.
More
So
time
I
than it
thought
took
it
him
was
for to
pretty
fall in
crazy.
love with.
Oh
Best
yeah,
Friend.
100%. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty wild, but I mean, it was a fun set piece. Imagine being that guy, like getting chased, doing all of that. Like he popped off when he was climbing those girders. Like holy shit, that was wild. He's jumping like, you know, these 20-30 foot drops
Oh, yeah.
multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
To do all of that and then get caught and then get shot
When
and
you're
killed. Like that's a rough way to
When
go
you're
out,
in the
man. He
embassy
just-
office, you're like, oh man, I finally got away from that psycho. Just turn around, he's right there. Are you fucking kidding
He
me?
worked
And it's
so
a Hawaiian shirt, too.
hard. He worked so hard,
Yeah.
and then he just got bopped.
And I
Yeah.
think this movie happened at the right time where parkour was breaking, but it wasn't like overdone. Now
Yeah,
it's a
it's
meme,
true, right?
and now it's like, oh, parkour. But I think in 2006 it was just that right crescendo of like, what's like people are
Yeah.
like, what's parkour? Oh,
Early
it's a thing.
Assassin's Creed, you know, all
Yeah.
these YouTube videos.
Like I think it's the movie. I'm sure maybe a movie used it before this, but this was the movie to use it greatly. And then I think in other movies, like
Yeah.
people rely on it too much sometimes. So I think they got that going for them.
And I thought the editing and
Oh, yeah.
cinematography, like there's really interesting, like weird perspective shots that they use throughout that, but it's so snappy between them that I thought it was really well put together.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you kind of want your first action scene of this new Bond to be like really, really good. And I
There
think
has
they
to be
put
so much importance
yeah.
put on that scene, right? Like I feel like that's the scene you got. One of the key scenes you got to nail. You have,
Yeah.
because if people don't buy him in that moment, especially because Bond, him getting cast was controversial too because he was the first ever blonde Bond.
Yeah, James Blonde.
Yeah, so there was a lot of like, I don't even know.
That's so funny.
It's so stupid.
Like,
but it
looking
was
back on it.
Yeah, it was just like
I
a lot of
remember
like.
that being such a big deal. Like Oh,
That's
God,
funny. I
so
don't
dumb.
remember that.
Oh yeah, and people are like, this can't happen. It's just like,
Wow.
oh man, what happens if they were cast like a non-white guy for it? People are gonna lose their minds. But it's just like, yeah,
Sure,
it's-
that'll happen one day.
Oh, it's gonna
Michael
happen.
B.
They've
Jordan,
said
yeah.
it's gonna happen, but it's just
Yeah.
like, it's just weird that like the hair color didn't matter. But yeah, there was a lot of, and I think this, even though Die Another Day is not looked as a great movie, I think it did very well at the box office. So I think a lot of people were still in that Pierce Bronson bandwagon.
Yeah.
He was.
That was the last one he did.
Yeah, he
2002.
was expecting to come back, but they told him, said, "Oh, we're gonna go a different route and go a younger actor and blah blah blah." So I think it was one of those that it kind of was very sudden, and people, and it, like we just talked about the turnover, only 4 years in between the
That's
bonds.
super
So
fast,
I think there were a
That
lot of
is
people
crazy.
still like, "Hey, Pierce is my guy."
So have they been like consistently coming out then for the last like 50 years, like every 3 or 4, 2, 3 years?
I'm gonna see what the longest gap was between a bond, but I
'Cause
feel
I
like
am shocked that there was only 4 years difference between those two.
Yeah.
Like that's wild.
But
to me.
that's kind of, other than Quantum Solace, the Craig ones now have usually been 2 to 3 years or 3 to 4 years in between.
Mhm.
So let's see here. What is there something you guys want to talk about while I find out this
Just
thing?
checking my notes. I know I don't have tons of notes.
I
for
liked
this one.
the 1964 Aston Martin. Was
Mhm.
that like the actual like old school like Sean Connery one? It seemed
I
very like when he was
yeah,
driving it.
I think
it reminded me
so,
of
yeah.
like that GIF.
Obviously
when
an
he's driving.
updated one and whatnot,
Yeah.
but the longest drought ever was 6 years between License
Wow.
to Kill and talking about Pierce, his first
Yeah.
one, Pierce Goldeneye. So yeah, 1989 to 1995. So yeah, they've turned them out. So that's pretty.
That's fucking crazy to me, man.
Yeah, because I think for the most
That's so consistent.
Yeah.
That is probably the most consistent movie ever. Then. Right?
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
is crazy.
I think for the most part, other than Timothy Dalton, who he only did 2, and George Lazenby, I think those were the only ones that didn't do the greatest. But I think most Bonds are always like they're
But
always.
even then, they recovered quick. They said, "Hey, let's get a new Bond." in
Oh,
there,
oh
start
yeah,
again."
yeah. They're always making money. They're
Yeah.
always going. So yeah, it's quite a while. But yeah, 6 months. That's it. So and Goldeneye, for fun fact, that's the same guy that directed this. So they
Oh.
brought him back.
Yeah, I saw that actually.
Yeah,
He did Green Lantern
Yeah,
as well.
he directed Green Lantern,
Yeah.
which was crazy because I love Goldeneye and I end up loving this movie. So when he did Green Lantern, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. We're gonna have a great movie. And if you've ever seen that movie, it was not.
Go check out our
perfect,
retro.
but
He's kind of
yeah.
wild that that's from the same guy.
Yeah, check out
Same
Retro.
director.
There was when he was talking about stuff at Comic Con, you could tell he didn't really care about Green Lantern, like the lore.
Well,
and
there's so
stuff
many
like
other
that.
problems with that movie. Or
Well,
like the
that-
visual effects are awful and the writing's terrible.
And even this movie that ended up being good, he said the only reason he took it is because he had nothing else going on. So it's not even like, oh, I really don't get Bond.
He
It's
wasn't
just like,
passionate. He was
yeah, it just sounds like he's just like good at being
Yeah.
a keen eye at times. But yeah, no, I love this and
But-
Goldeneye.
So there's, I always get confused. No Time to Die was the fifth one in this.
Yeah,
with
fifth. So
Daniel
there's
Craig?
yeah,
So of those, because Sam Mendes directed 2 of them, right?
yeah. He directed Skyfall and Spectre.
And then who is the other person who directed?
Mark Forster, who directed the Christopher Robin movie that just happened recently.
Okay.
Yeah. He's directed a few, but he's not as known. I can't remember. There's another one.
Not a big action.
He
guy?
directed, I think, maybe not Jarhead, but some like war
Yeah.
movie or something. But yeah,
It's interesting that they switched that around.
He's
Was that kind of has that always been the case for Bond?
for the it
Different
was
directors?
honestly super surprising when they got Sam Mendes back, and I think the reason Sam Mendes came back like for back-to-back movies is just because everyone loves Skyfall so much. Everyone's like, give him it again, and then Spectre kind
Yeah.
of went the route of people not the biggest fan of it, but
But then
he
he's
direct-
out here making 1917, so good for him.
Oh yeah, he's a great director. He did also Mark Forster did World War Z, if you've seen that.
Okay.
Finding Neverland, Stranger Than Fiction. So
Okay, so he's got some
Yeah.
solid movies in his pouch.
he's got some credit, and that's usually the route they go. I don't ever think they go for like the Nolan because I think they still like to have a little say in the movies, but they like to go for somebody that they're not going for a first time director. Like even this guy, he's done True Detective for the new one coming up, Maniac. They like to go with people that have some history, but they don't want to go with someone well Spielberg they turned down because they said the rules supposedly that they won't let anyone non-British direct a James Bond movie. So, which I think is foolish because I think a Spielberg Bond movie
Yeah.
could have been something great, but that's just the Broccoli family is a very strange.
That's interesting.
They're like multi-millionaires.
I think of James Bond as like a very American thing.
Well,
But I mean, I also
I think it's
not watched
popular.
any other
I think it's
movies,
popular
so-
here, but like everyone's like
that's
British.
my outsider perspective.
Yeah.
Well, isn't like the new movie? I believe it's releasing in UK.
It always says first. Yeah, it's
Huh.
there. Yeah,
That's cool.
So yeah, the
a week
Broccoli
before or
family is a
something.
different type of family. They but they own Bond, so
There you go.
good for them.
Let's see what I had.
You're going to get an ad break, and then you're going to be right back to the episode.
Oh yeah. So when Bond loses to Le
Le
Chiffre,
Chiffre the first time.
yeah,
Or the only
he's
time.
all choked and everything, and then he's walking down the stairs basically chasing Le Chiffre with a knife.
He
What
was
the
just-
hell was his intention?
He was just going to murder him.
Yeah,
Because remember
that's
when
what I
this whole thing started, he said, why don't we just kill him?
Oh,
And they
okay.
wanted more information.
I definitely
so
missed that part.
his
I was
mind-
so confused. I'm like, is he just gonna kill him?
His mindset the entire time was, this is dumb. We should just kill him.
Yeah.
But they're like, let's play this out and get him. Because I think the idea was to put him into a hole, capture him, and then get more information from him. Unfortunately, she flips that and puts them in almost a literal
Yeah.
hole and stuff. But yeah, I think that's... And I love that line when the car flips over and Matt's just where that swear comes up, he's like, I'm afraid your friend Matheson is my friend Matheson. And it's just like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh no. It's just like, it's like a perfect line delivery of
I
it.
like
And
that line, yeah.
just like I always think about like what would happen too if he accidentally ran over Vespa if he didn't see her in time, because it
Yeah.
was a quick like turn.
Did you feel that the car thing was a little over the top?
A little, but I think that's to please the old timers of like we haven't given you an action in an
Yeah.
hour.
The
Let's
Venom
give 'em
fanboys.
Yeah, and they used that car flip in like every teaser and trailer. I remember because that was
Yeah.
like that was the moment.
Totally, yeah.
Plus, I can't remember. I don't think I put in the trivia, but I think each car cost like it was like close to $100,000, and they used like 5 or 7 of them for that stunt.
get
So
the shot?
that
Yeah.
stunt cost about like $700,000 just to get that car flipping because they used multiple ones. So they're like, we're using
crazy.
this in every trailer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they,
Get
and
our
just
money's
think,
worth out of
there's
it.
so many nice cars just demolished for that one. day of
Sometimes
set.
we'll be at a point where you can put CGI dots on a car,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you can total my 2006 Toyota Corolla, and then it will look like a Lamborghini or
with your
something.
app. You can send a picture to someone and look at my car. Yeah.
Someday.
Hilarious.
What I was going to ask, because we haven't talked about this at all, and when we do a ranking special, I want to rank these. What did you guys think about the song in the opening credits? Because obviously that's a big Bond thing. Every time it's always like, who's going to sing the song in the opening credits? Wow, a thumbs down.
I'm giving it a thumbs down.
I didn't like
For
it either, actually.
Oh,
I
my
didn't feel like it
goodness.
fit. It was like some kind of indie pop rock sort of song. I didn't feel
Yeah.
like it really fit the
I
theme at all.
like
Oh
like
my
the
God.
opening like animation. I thought that was cool, like with all like the cards and that stuff. Him fighting the bad guys. But yeah, overall, I was pretty let down with the song. I've been listening to just like a playlist of like the Bond songs lately, and like
That's cool.
you got like I think Skyfall. Spoiler alert! It's probably gonna be my favorite out of all of them. And then like the Billie Eilish one, I really like. So this one, I don't know. Like at the time, if I didn't have those other ones in my mind, I probably would have been like, oh, it's cool. It's getting
Is
me
it
into that
always
Bond
the
mood.
same song done by someone else, or is it different?
It's always a different song. Yeah.
And it's like an original song?
Yeah, they always
Yeah.
write it. They
It's like
hire them. The
Skyfall.
next one is Jack White and Alicia Keys. Alicia Keys. They
Nice.
are combo together and
That's
they
cool.
do that. So yeah. See, I thought it was underwhelming the first time I see it, but now I love it. I love Soundgarden. Shout out Chris Cornell, who we lost last year. I think I could be biased because I just love that dude's fucking voice. It's so good. Like Black Hole Sun's one of my favorite songs. It's such a powerful voice, and I like the kind of spin on it of it's a new James Bond, it's a new franchise, but just the idea of like, yeah, Taylor hates the name in the song, but like the "You Know My Name," like it's just I like the actual lyrics. I think they fit the character, and it's just like, yeah, we don't need to tell you this is Bond. Like this is Bond, and to me it fit with that like, oh, it's a blonde Bond. Like it felt like it just to me felt like a kind of Get Over. But I love the sequence and I love the song, and I think when we rank them, I think it might be pretty high up there. It might be in the
I'll have to
second
listen
slot.
to it again.
Yeah. But I like the sequence a lot too. It's the first sequence I think at this point to never have a female in the sequence either.
Yeah, maybe that's why I didn't like it.
They did that because he wasn't the womanizing Bond. So every Bond in the past has always had like voluptuous like girls like showing them off stuff. So there's no females in the opening sequence. So that's the other big thing too. You'll see every movie; it's very stylized. There's always they put a lot of money.
And then I
in
feel like
these openings.
directly after that, there's like some girl getting out of the ocean on a yacht or something.
100%. That's that guy's wife. There's another con. I don't like that whole story
Subplot,
either
yeah.
because it's like I get why they do it because I think they're trying to show like even M says that when she dies, like, oh, I would tell you not to get emotionally invested, but that's not your issue, is it? And so I get it that they were to show one thing that he's kind of a womanizer, and two that he doesn't really love women. So when he meets Vespa, it's a big thing for him, right? But I just don't. It's not. I won't say it's unnecessary, but it's not one of my fondest things ever like in this movie. It's something that I don't know if it could have been chopped out, but maybe chopped down a little bit. I don't know. It's just
He only likes married women.
yeah. I wouldn't go for you. You're single.
I like the way it was done, at least. Like I think it was very suave that he's like, oh, I live very close. He just kind of drives around the circle and then comes back.
Yeah.
Also, I was thinking like logistically, if you were to throw your car keys in a pot for like poker and like someone wins your car, like that wouldn't work, right? You have to, like,
No, people do that.
But like, what about insurance papers and stuff? Like,
Well, yeah.
because the guy's just gonna be like, no, that's my car. This guy stole my car.
I think these people are rich enough where maybe there's like a way where like this car, like there is no insurance on it. You're just like, because these people probably are rich enough where they're not paying for insurance. They just like they buy the car outright and it's theirs. They don't worry about
it's like in a
anything
different
else.
country. They don't care.
Exactly. That's the way I take it. It's like dirty money. You know.
That scene though, like that's funny, like on its own. But like the thing I found was hilarious was when the I don't know what you'd call it, like the dealer. She's
No, we can't accept
No,
that.
you can't do that. He's like, just let her do it. It's like, okay, Bruce Wayne, like you just buy this hotel. Like, why you call the shots?
Yeah.
She should be like, nope, this
Yeah,
is not happening.
she was not nearly as expert as the guy in
No,
the ending poker scene.
she didn't get that tip. You realize that's why.
Yeah.
So.
True.
Yeah, and poor not that guy because he's a criminal, but still, Bond killed him, took his car, and slept with his wife. Terrible.
The trifecta.
The holy triumvirate.
Yeah, that's the worst way to go on. And I actually, for a scene that could be cheesy, I like the mini like knife struggle in the public and whatnot because there's all these people walking
like, the
around.
museum
Yeah, and they're
thing,
being like really silent about it, but it's like a nice little arm
So
wrestle. So I
funny.
like that. It could be you could spoof that easily and be like really out there, but I think it's done well in this movie.
I was watching it with Shay, and she's like, "Yeah, he wouldn't have died that quick. That's bullshit. That's a stupid scene. He would have been screaming. He would have been bleeding out forever."
Yeah, that's true. He took it like a man though. You know?
He
He's
did.
just,
yeah,
I'm gonna
Just
die
like,
silently.
"Oh, he beat me. Slept with
Yeah,
my
I feel
wife.
like no one
stole
really
my car."
reacted.
No one ever does in those scenes.
No.
Like, none of the public were like, "Oh, this guy just got stabbed."
Another medical technical thing that she always hates whenever we watch a movie. For some reason, whenever they get like an adrenaline shot, they stab it in the neck, and she just says like that is the dumbest thing because like you just hit your jugular and you're just gonna bleed out. Like it does not
Isn't
make
that why he
any
did the
sense.
chest there?
But isn't that what
Yeah.
they said?
Yeah.
What's that?
Like the guy on the phone said, "Put in your neck. Make sure you hit the vein."
Yeah, but like
I'm not saying that that's what you should do, but it seems like
I'm
they
not a
knew what
nurse.
they're talking
So
about.
I know someone though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll call my sister.
I'll let you
ask
know
her
on the-
if
yeah.
she's done the
The next cast, I'll answer that question.
report back.
I like the opening when there is the bathroom fight, but he's having that conversation with whoever he's sent there to kill. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're not, like, you shouldn't be here because you're not a 00, so you couldn't
Yeah.
kill me, blah, blah, blah. And then he says something like, oh, you've killed someone. And Bond goes, yes. And then he says, well, the second is. And then, like, you assume he's going to say it's a lot harder. And then he shoots him. And Craig just walks over and just says, like, considerably. And he just, like, walks out. It's just so good. And then you get the classic Bond
Yeah.
shot to the camera. But I like that little sequence. Again, just showing, like, how cold he is.
Yeah.
And he'll just, even before he's a 00, he's just gonna like take you out. But I took that was like his like graduation, and
Yeah.
that was his last mission. So.
Totally. So like, if you're not a double, are you a single? Or are you just you're
Yeah.
a cop?
Maybe you're
Yeah,
just
is that-
07.
Yeah,
he's
that's
a
the
beat
question. Like,
cop.
do you start with the 7 then you add O's onto it?
You don't start with the
or
7.
or do you build up to the 7
Yeah.
from like 01?
Because in No Time to Die, there's someone
like a
that is a new
006.
007. No,
Is there like another like 003 or something?
well, there is the other 00s in
Yeah.
Goldeneye. There's Alex Trebek, who's the
Yeah.
006. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I think the O's might be your rank, but the 6s or the numbers after
You want it
that.
to be a higher number.
Yeah, you keep. Yeah, I'm not sure what happens. I don't know who 001 is.
it's probably
Is that the first? Yeah, it might be.
Well, yeah, well, is that a higher rank?
M is higher rank than him?
Like, is 001 a higher rank?
I don't think so. No, I think they're all the same because I don't think there's any difference between 006 and 007.
just
so.
like their name, Agent 47 or something.
Which
like
we'll
that.
find out because in No Time to Die, Bond is working with 007, so we'll find out where his rank is. Does he get a new
Maybe like
rank?
Gemini Man, there's going to be another version. of
Yeah.
himself.
Two Daniel Craigs.
Yeah, what's her
I'm
name?
you from 10 years ago.
the girl from Captain Marvel, Michonne Lynch, who played Rambo, she's playing 007 in No Time
Oh,
to Die
cool.
now because he's retired and
That's
he's
awesome.
off on his own there. So
Good to see her.
Badass.
yeah.
Badass.
Yeah, and then M. We didn't talk about her once.
I don't think I
I-
really have much to say.
I like her. I think she's good in that
Gets
role.
the job
but
done.
She's great as always.
Denching it out.
Yeah, she delivers she's like the Alfred, good at being
Right.
stern, like doesn't have much thing. I think she gets more. She actually gets more later on. This is the most the franchise uses M. Like they do build quite a personal relationship with her and Bond, where most of the time it's just
She's the boss.
originally M was a man, and then in Goldeneye they changed it to a woman. But he or she is just always the mission giver and like the Bond. Like always putting the
Has
restraints
she ever
on
been the mother before?
the mother.
Yeah.
No.
I like when he's in her apartment. It's like I never knew that M stood for, and then like he doesn't actually say her name. I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of funny.
Did you say has she ever been? Actually, she still hasn't been a mother. Never mind. In Pierce Brosnan, she marries someone who's daughter, like her stepdaughter becomes a villain.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because M was a neglective mother and all
Oh,
this
yeah,
stuff.
all
And blah,
this.
blah. I really like.
could see that.
I like the Bronsons in her era, but
Funny.
yeah, she always delivers. She's
Yeah,
always.
I
Really
I
good.
feel like
good.
Skyfall is definitely her. Like
That's her
peak.
breakout.
Yeah,
one,
definitely.
Ooh.
Yeah. What was I gonna say, and that's the thing with this movie was the first one because it's like really British for the whole franchise until I watched them with subtitles. I thought they kept calling her mum, but they're calling her ma'am, but in like British.
I was today years old.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was literally mum.
I really picked up on Skyfall, and that's why I was like, "Oh,
wait, is she not his mom?
No,
Oh.
it's ma'am.
Yeah.
That's how they pronounce.
I assume
It sounds like mum though, right?
Right. So when this franchise,
I was 1 minute year old.
so that's why when they did the whole.
That's why I asked. Is that has she ever been the mom before?
I did think it was a random question, but that's why I thought maybe because I thought the same thing of like, oh,
There was no doubt in my mind.
Yeah,
it
no,
seemed like it
same.
fit, like the way they
Yes,
cared
Mom.
for each
Like,
other.
it
It
was
seems
just-
like a distant parent-son relationship.
Even like Q would like say like mum.
You know, I
thought it was
refuse
just,
to
like,
believe
that
it.
was
In my head, that's his mom.
when
Your
you
head-
put in this, it
I like
could
the
still
headcanon.
work. You well, actually, no, it doesn't work. They introduce his parents later on, so like the idea of them. So
Well, she can be a stepmom then.
So yeah, I thought that until whenever I watch these with subtitles, and then Emily informed me that's just how they say ma'am.
That's
because
crazy.
I thought when they did Casino Royale, I'm like, oh, I didn't think she was her mom, but I'm saying, are they saying her name in real life is mum?
'Cause I
like
even felt-
M-U-M. I'm like, that's a weird choice.
That's the thing.
Like,
When he goes into an elevator or something, and that's when he says, "I
Mom.
thought mom."
Mom.
Like the
Yeah.
way
mom.
it was highlighted to me,
Mom.
it felt like it was supposed to be like not a big reveal, but like, boom, there's a little reveal for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had heard like I don't know another agent or like Q for example would like say it, and I just thought like that would be like their title for her or something. Like I don't know the M's to just like yes president, yes mum. Like that was just her title, right?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I'm glad I brought this up
Well,
because I
I'm
almost
really glad you
didn't,
brought that up.
because I was like, I'm probably an idiot that didn't catch this. But see, I think there's more of us out there that didn't know this because it's very confusing.
I'm an idiot. Yeah, it's true.
Let's see here. You guys check your notes. You got anything else?
I've got nothing else.
I've got numerous notes.
Nothing else? Okay. I will pull up my trivia because, of course, I got some trivia. So,
I was expecting a 6-pack. He didn't have much of a 6-pack, or it was a little.
wow.
Little hiding there.
Dude, you're
I'm
in the
very-
body
I'm
shaming
finding
over
it,
there.
yeah, I'm finding it hard to judge. Like,
Scrawny's no six-pack, Craig.
As I'm sitting here with my Mountain Dew.
Kirklin the muscles patzer.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right.
I think I'm just stuck in my 2020. Got a full like 20 movies of MCU. We're just super jacked
everyone,
superheroes.
Yeah. That's America's ass.
it was a different, yeah, that's British ass, yeah. Trivia, in the shower scene, Vespa was originally scripted to be wearing nothing but her underwear. Daniel Craig argued that Vespa would have not stopped to take off her clothes and the scene was changed. Makes sense, you
I
know.
like it.
I think that's also like a, like a man thing, which makes sense. Like, yeah, when you hear her, like, why would she be in her underwear? She's in shock, but,
Right.
it would have been a more, I
Good
guess,
for
sexy
Daniel Craig,
scene.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't handle this lust that I'm building for Eva Green. Put your clothes
Yeah.
Sucking on her fingers.
Daniel,
in the
That was an
trailer.
impromptu. Yeah. That was an impromptu. It wasn't actually in the script for him.
Craig,
sucking her
we
fingers.
need you.
I could believe that because it's a weird take. Like, imagine right, and then he sucked on her fingers. And
Because like the whole point was like what she had blood on her fingers.
well,
and then
no,
he's,
it's
like getting rid of
figurative
it.
blood. He's taking it from her.
Yeah.
I thought it was when I watched the first time. I thought it was real blood. I thought she was saying she couldn't wash the blood off her hands, and then he
love
was
the
sucking it
taste.
off, and I was like, "That's fucking gross." And so two things always ran through my mind. One, why is the shower not as powerful as his mouth? So that says something.
Yeah.
And then two, I was just like, "That's weird." But then when I saw the second time, I'm like, "Oh, it's just figurative. Like
Right.
she's just taking off." But the
So you're
first
not
time,
trying very hard, just sitting on the ground. Like,
yeah, put your hands there.
go get some soap.
Yeah, you haven't even tried scrubbing. Daniel
Yeah.
Craig actually rejected the part of James Bond a year before as he felt the franchise had settled into a standard formula. He changed his mind when he read the finished script. So, again, seems like, there's lots of conversations of, this is going to be different, blah, blah, blah. We're going to,
All right, it brings up another question I had. What was he known for before this, Daniel Craig?
That is a good question.
Not much, mostly British stuff. His biggest North American thing was Layer Cake, where he played a private investigator, and the producer, Barbara Broccoli, saw that, and that's how he got into the room. Was
Okay.
like, oh, I really like
Invoked
Daniel
this guy.
Craig.
That's
Yeah, and we'll get into it. There was a bunch of actors that were rumored, but all of them eventually came out and said I was never in condition. There's only one actor that was close to being cast with Craig, and we'll get there.
Okay.
The opening parkour chase took 6 weeks to film.
Yeah, that's
so
not surprising.
that makes sense. It's a long time. So,
They used a lot of camera angles, a lot of drones.
Oh,
And
yeah.
This was
A lot
in
of
2006 when drones weren't available
people had
on Amazon Prime.
helicopters.
Like,
With cameras.
a lot of stunt doubles and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
yeah.
I was just gonna quickly comment on the Daniel Craig thing. It's so funny because before this movie, I felt like I knew who Daniel Craig was. Like I just felt like he was always a famous actor, but like I could not name
No.
a movie before
Yeah.
that. So it's definitely probably my first
Yeah.
introduction to him. But maybe he just had like I don't know, a good sounding name that I'm like, oh, I know about that
Right.
guy.
It does sound like a very generic, like high class guy.
John Smith.
John Smith. Daniel Craig said he was shopping
He's got 2 first names.
he was shopping for groceries when he got the call from Barbara Broccoli that he had won the role. She apparently told him, "Over to you, kiddo." Greg left the groceries behind and celebrated with martinis, shaken not stirred, at a local pub. So he just stopped shopping, and he's like,
Sorry, who is this for?
Craig. He found it in the grocery store, and he just left and was like, "Yeah, I'm not buying these groceries," and became Bond.
Went drinking 9 a.m. I would do it.
Yeah.
I like that scene when the bartender asks him shaken or not sure or shaken or stirred. He's like, "Do I look like I care?"
I look like I give a damn.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
that
good.
actually brings up. I love that guy who just thinks he's like the valet, throws him his keys, and then he just goes and fucks up all those cars.
Oh,
that was another just like very sinister move.
Yeah, like that's very psychotic. Like, yeah, just pretty.
It's like laughing
move.
about it.
And I will say, because I didn't even put my notes on, I feel like I should have. I love that they saved the last James Bond, for the very end. And for me, that's like, even when I didn't love the movie the first time I watched it, I think it's just such a hype moment of the guy answers the phone. He just got shot twice in the leg. You see Craig's feet walk in, and it's a new theme because it's the theme, but they added like this 30-second, like it's slowly building up. And just when he does that Bond, just like, duh, and it's just like, I remember like that movie ending and being like, I am ready to see the next Bond. I think it's one of the best. Like, it's probably my favorite no Bond James Bond because it actually has some actual meaning to it now, because you can see that clearly he's not resigning. He's after this guy that killed his lady and whatnot. So it's like, that to me was like the full on, when you have like the I'm Batman moment, that's like, oh, he's not that guy anymore. He's James Bond for the rest of his life now. So
that location was just beautiful too. Oh my gosh, that like mansion on the lake.
Oh yeah, I want to go.
Gorgeous.
I want to go there, wherever that is.
I think that's the other thing too. I guess I should have brought up too, is the actual set piece where he loses Vespa and with the bankers. That's where like the whole film feels very realistic, but that's one of those moments, kind of like the car flip. Well, that feels so unrealistic that I don't buy it. Like the building's crumbling, there's water, and even then, like, answer me this, I've never understood it. Maybe she just felt like she was gonna be killed either way, and M says that, but I still don't buy that Vespa would kill herself, because she does that. She locks it and she pulls the thing and it goes down. I just feel like maybe go with Bond and you might end up in prison, but you're not for sure gonna die. And M says that as the reason, like, oh, that's why she did it, because they would catch her eventually. But it's like, maybe, or you guys could protect her. So I've never actually liked that either, of her killing herself, because I feel like I would have rather them just have the thing collapse and have her die. Don't make her make the one to choose her dying, because I
would agree. Yeah,
it opens up some doors that are kind of questionable in my opinion, that don't get answered.
I think I was still just salty about the quick nut recovery. At that point, I was just checked out.
You never recovered.
He kept running like this.
You took the pain from him,
and
you held that burden.
I have. Every time I watch that
Share the
scene,
load.
I'm feeling it.
As soon as you see the credits,
I'm like feeling
nuts
nauseous. It's like, oh, but like when Mr. White like gets that suitcase somehow, it's like, did he have a scuba suit or something? Like,
and he's
how
just
the fuck
watching.
did he just get it?
He's just watching Bond hold dead Vespa.
Yeah,
I
face.
do love that line though, when he's just like talking to M, and he's just like, the job is done, the bitch is dead, and M's just like really taken aback, and yeah, he's the way he is now.
Another quick one-liner I liked was when she does the handoff with like the one-eyed man. He's like, "I'll fucking kill her." He's like, "Not if I do it first," or whatever it was. Again, paraphrasing, but it was a good one-liner.
You're really defensive about that. Like, this is not the line.
Please, sir.
And I like the little romantic touch when they asked Bond for the password and you put her name in there and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, they're always meant to be, but nope, she's dead.
It's a pretty bad idea though, really.
Oh, it is pretty easy.
I wonder if this guy who can't focus on the game because of this girl, I wonder if that's like the name he picked.
At 2 hours,
six digits. Yeah.
At 2 hours at 24 minutes, this is the longest Bond ever.
You can
beating
feel it for sure.
on Her Majesty's
the longest
service.
one I've ever seen.
Wait, if you ever, which you probably never will, but that's the one retro. If we ever do Lazenby movie, that's one movie. On Her Majesty's Service is the longest Bond, and you feel it. It feels like a 10-hour long movie. I hate that movie. It's 4 minutes shorter than this, but it is. It drags. It's really, because it's about Bond being retired, and oh boy, it drags.
He's just some old guy.
He gets married in it. It's a whole ordeal, and it's not great. It's there's a reason he only did a one and done. So
there's no parkour scene in that one.
Nope. No. Daniel Craig lost his 2 front teeth while filming the fight scene in Prague. The first action scene to be shot in the filming. He had to fly his dentist to London to replace him. Craig claimed to be in a state of pain for most of the shoot because of the vigorous stunts he was to perform. So I think that's the other reason too why he's kind of done. He's kind of spoken bad sometimes about these movies. It's never the movies. He just is like, it sounds like he's always been in a lot of pain when he's doing these.
The production of it.
Yeah, so he's kind of like annoyed and he's done with them and whatnot.
He's no Tom Cruise who like loves the pain.
No.
Fuels him.
He's not 22 anymore as well. Oh.
Yeah, because there was a famous quote after the last movie. They asked him, like, right after filming, and he said he'd rather slit his wrists again than do another Bond. So that's why it's like, oh, this is his last run.
Extreme.
Oh, yeah. So, but I think that's why it's done. This is the first James Bond movie to be approved by Chinese censors. All our films in the franchise were illegal bootlegs. So, and there's lots of really cool covers. You look at the illegal bootlegs. Also, there's a story Daniel Craig tells where when he was in China for the premiere, someone sold him a bootleg version of it.
That's
so
funny.
he bought it and because he just thought it was funny that it was there. But yeah, even when they're released, they're still selling the bootleg. So, but yeah, look on Google Images. There's some fun covers of all
That's
the
cool.
Bonds
Check
and all
that out.
whatnot. You guys will get a kick out of this one. I'm going to take a drink because this is a long paragraph.
Please take a drink because we got to hear what this is.
I'm very excited.
Quentin Tarantino showed interest in adapting Ian Fleming's Casino Royale, but with an out-of-continuity universe. That would feature Pierce Brosnan at the time when he's still Bond. He claimed his treatment for Bond was different, shooting the movie in black and white, the whole thing, and no classic Bond theme, no opening credits or familiar one-liners, using voiceover narration in order to incorporate Fleming's text. The movie would have been a film set, kind of noir, set firmly in the Cold War era, about which the time Fleming wrote the novel. It would have been set immediately after the death of Bond's wife. Let's see. It's frequently reported that Ian rejected his offer. The truth is, Ian would not have been able to hire Tarantino as he refuses to join the Directors Guild. He's also not part of the Writings Guild either. And it's doubtful the Directors Guild would want to do that. Tarantino would not be able to develop a Bond project on his own as he does not have the rights. When Tarantino was in talks with Sony Pictures, he wanted Samuel Jackson as Felix Leiter and Uma Thurman as Vespa Lynn, which
Let's
is
go.
kind of makes sense. So this, to me, I think, honestly...
It sounds like he didn't want to do the movie. He has like all these fucking prerequisites.
Well, that's what I mean. So I would love if Tarantino said, hey, my next movie is a spy movie. I would love that. I just think that sounds... I don't think that sounds like a good James Bond movie of like, you're going to take Pierce Brosnan, who's Bond right now, and he's going to do a movie set in the Cold War, not in continuity. Like, I just think it's just... I'm surprised he just hasn't gone off the same thing with Nolan. Obviously, he's added like some weird Death Stranding stuff, but the word is everyone's just like, well, he kind of had some talks about directing Spectre. They said, we want this, this, and this, and he's like, I'm just going to go make my own James Bond movie. If you look at the Tenet trailers, it's very James Bond. It's just boats, it's Bond villains, it's guys in suits. So I'm surprised he never did that one. You know what? I'm going to go make my own Bond movie, and I'd love to see if he made, Tarantino's like Pond, and it's just like it's some spy thriller, and of course you got like the classic like Jackson in there, Uma Thurman, but I would not be opposed to this if he did this because I think that could be fun. And I like the idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'd watch it because it's Tarantino. That doesn't sound that appetizing.
Yeah, I like the idea of, and I've always wanted them to do this comic movies of take the text and put them into like narration. So people have always been like with Batman, it's like, oh, he narrates a lot in comic books. He doesn't talk much because he wants to be scary. So I've always wanted that to happen. It never has. So I like that idea. So I'd love to see it, but I think they made the right choice being like, no, like you're not going to direct this Cold War era Bond movie. So
It's a weird prerequisite.
I like your suggestion. Make it Pond. James
Pond, yeah,
Pond.
and just be really obvious about it, and then just be like, fuck this guy.
Jim Pond.
It's just gonna be his last. He says it's his last movie, right? So go with a
Jimmy
bang.
Pond.
And so if you guys were to guess, so I'll give you this hint. It's a guy who's played a DC superhero who was the choice. If it wasn't Craig, it was gonna be this guy to be Bond.
DC superhero.
Yeah, past 10 years, I'd say he was a DC superhero.
It makes me think you're trying to get at Ben Affleck. But who else could it be?
Cavill.
Cavill was like 10 years old at the time.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
That's
part.
not true.
Henry Cavill was the only one in contentious
Oh,
for the role,
shit.
but at 22 years old was considered too young. So
Okay.
that's why so exactly what Dylan said. They liked the look of him, they liked everything, but apparently they just liked the age. So that's why many people have obviously thrown out when Craig's done.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
Cavill
interesting.
could do
Yeah.
it. So and I think it's a lock because he's never played not a lock, but I think it's a good chance because Superman's not happening. And
Oh, on Fallout. Oh, he was
Well,
so
yeah,
good
he
in
did
that.
Wait, is
Super
he
Agent?
British?
oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thick British accent. Yeah, so
I've never
he's
heard
never
him
really
not be
used it
Superman.
in any movies. Yeah, I guess
The-
not.
well, the
He doesn't
Witcher
use,
sort
no,
of,
he
right?
doesn't use the Witcher. He uses the Geralt voice.
Oh,
Geralt Rivera.
okay.
Yeah, it's just that. But like, I honestly think it has a good chance of happening, and it's so funny that in the very first time Superman Returns, which was like a reboot of Superman, he was the second choice there.
Mhm.
But then when they did it again, he was Superman. So he's had history with it before.
Yeah, I wonder if he would do that. Like, I feel like
I think so.
his role in Mission Impossible. I haven't seen that movie, but it seems like it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Kinda action.
The-
spy
He was
movie.
like an agent, right?
The only spoilers for that movie, you're not going to care that much, but he ends up being a villain in the movie. So
Yeah.
that's where I think he'd be like, oh, I could be the hero Bond.
Right.
You know, like and he's American in that movie too, so he gets to be
Yeah.
full on British. I'd love to see him
He's
use
Jack
it.
too.
interesting.
Oh, he's mad. You think Craig's big for this? You better not make any complaints about Henry Cavill. Oh, look at this
I'm
guy.
comparing him to Cavill.
He's so scrawny. Look at Cavill is massive.
He's bigger every day.
Oh yeah, he's a brick shithouse.
we get back to the dark haired finally. I've been waiting for that for ages.
Yeah.
You're not boycott. That's why you boycott it. Yeah, that is all the trivia I had. Everything else I kind of sprinkled throughout the review. So, final thoughts on this movie, and what do you guys think about Quantum of Solace coming up? It's a direct sequel to this.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down to see.
I'm excited to watch that movie because I know I've seen it because it shows flashbacks of like Vespa
A little
died.
bit,
and like
no new footage though.
No,
Yeah.
but like stuff we've seen. That's why like when I was watching this, I'm like I thought this scene was in Quantum Solace.
Yeah, they close her loop up. They answer questions.
Yeah,
on her
I really don't remember like anything else about that movie, but I know I have seen it, so I'm excited to watch it.
So it was Quantum of Solace 2008?
Yeah, it came out right after. That one was 2 years, and then after that kind of went to the 4-year thing. So I'm excited to talk about. My prediction is I imagine it's going to be a short podcast because it's a pretty forgettable movie. But there's some good stuff in there. I'm
so excited. Yeah.
I think there's some good talking points in there, but I don't think it reaches the heights of this, even like the poker or action scene. But for me, if I'm giving this a score, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10 because, like I said, I had some problems with some pacing stuff, some of the relationship stuff, but I love this movie. I think it's up there. It's definitely top 5, maybe top 3. Yeah. But I love this movie, and I love Craig, and I think he's a perfect Bond. Bronson might still be my favorite, or Brosnan might still be my favorite. I've said Bronson my whole life, so I still can't correct myself as Brosnan. But
I've just let it slide.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do?
I'm
gonna let you be you
all the time. But he's probably still my favorite. But if you're asking who's the best Bond, I do think it's actually Craig because Connery, you could make that case, but I think especially as we go on and we get to Skyfall, he does get that right amount of being dead ass scary serious, but then has that witty charm and like flamboyant as Bond. So 9 out of 10 for me. Love this movie. Gets better with every rewatch.
I will give this movie a 005 out of 007.
Wow,
that's pretty. I feel like that one makes the most sense.
005 or 007.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Just to throw it off. What does it mean? I can't tell you.
That's neat to know. That's confidential. MI6. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. I think, which is honestly that's really good considering how much I hated it like beforehand. So I feel like I just didn't have enough like cool gadgets, and seeing that Aston Martin just get totaled after not seeing it become a submarine or shoot rockets out of the front grill, I definitely wanted that stuff. And
let's be honest, it's the nuts. The nuts takes 3 points.
I was gonna say that takes a full solid point off. Like it probably could be 1.5.
2 points.
But I don't want to go down to 6.5 because this is a solid movie. Yeah. I like the chemistry between Daniel Craig and Eva Green.
A couple times too.
Yeah, I love their chemistry, and Daniel Craig is just such a good Bond, and I think it's just such a good like first film for having him as Bond. And yeah, I really liked it. Could have been better in my opinion, but could have been thicker. Could have a thicker neck, but he is a small guy.
Oh man, Taylor Field is joining us.
Welcome.
What do you think? What do you think about Casino Royale? James Bond movie. Have you not seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, look at that.
Got the Dylan approach on this one.
There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, we already did the links, but you could do them again quickly just because you sat down. So
You're the link guy.
That's the end. Next, we're going to be doing Quantum of Solace. If you're on Patreon, get the $1 tier. It might already be up or be close. If not, we're releasing these every week leading up to No Time to Die, and then we'll be doing a full-on spoilers review that night. You got Rami Malek, you got Craig.
I thought about this before.
You got Ana de Armas. Yeah, I don't know what our outro is. That's scary.
Yeah,
we always have one for a retro.
Does he have like a call sign other than like Bond, James Bond?
Be like, we can talk, they won't pick us up.
Shaken, stood.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, go to your social media, GeekVerse podcast,
like
Facebook, GeekVerse Space Podcast.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
and especially check out GeekVerse.ca, our new home base out on the interweb.
Yeah.
These boys are getting close to figuring something out here.
Until next.
So say, Dylan, your haircut is absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
Really, really like it.
I'm auditioning to be the next Bond.
Oh yeah.
Actually, James Pond is who I'm
James
auditioning
Pond.
for. Yeah.
I hear Ana de Armas is in that.
Oh God, I know.
You enjoyed this. No, I was gonna say, I hope you enjoyed this Shaken Not Stirred podcast, but I don't.
Yeah, no, go for it. I like it.
Next week's Quantum of Solace. We thank you for tuning much into this Shaken but Not Stirred podcast.
Hey,
Cringe.
Boom,
Cringe.
done. They get worse and worse our outros, I think.